So today we're going to be showing you how to properly field dress a deer. There's a couple things you'll need first off. First, you'll need a good knife, a saw to cut the bone, and a good pair of gloves. So here we go. First incision we're going to make on this deer is right here at the sternum. As you can see, I'm feeling for the belly right here, and I find where the belly meets the sternum, and that's where I make the first cut, right at the base. Now you need to be careful while you're cutting that you don't puncture too deep, otherwise you'll puncture into the stomach. You only want to cut in through the layer of skin and the layer of membrane, not into the stomach. I'm cutting through the muscle right here and the membrane, and I'm almost in. Use the gut hook to get a little deeper, and there it is. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my gut hook and make a V with my fingers. I'm going to work it all the way down the body, making a nice zipper cut. And it works very smooth all the way down. Now, on a buck, we would make an elliptical cut around the genitals at this point. But because this is a doe, we don't have to worry about doing that at all. This is where it helps if somebody's helping you, you can have that other person spread the legs for you. I'm just working my way down, right down into the hams, all the way to the pelvic bone. Here in a minute we'll cut that with the bone saw. But first we have to cut around the genital and anal vents, and we're going to work our knife all the way around. It really helps if you have a razor sharp knife. I didn't at this time, and I was having a few issues cutting through because of that. So you just work your way around the vent holes, and you get all the way around. Right here I'm cutting down to this strip of cartilage on the pelvic bone. Now we're going to take our bone saw and we're going to get it in that strip of cartilage and cut right through. It's a lot easier to cut the cartilage with your saw than it is to cut the bone. As you can see, I found the cartilage and it cuts right through very smoothly all the way through. Now we're going to take the knife and relieve any things that are still attached down in this area. Again, a sharp knife helps. My knife was pretty dull at this point because I forgot to sharpen it on the last deer. Now usually this part of the gutting is not this messy, but I shot this deer at a 1/4-2 angle and the round exited out, made a mess. So here you can see I'm using my knife to cut through the fat and the muscle all the way down to the sternum. Now there's a strip of cartilage on the sternum just like on the pelvic bone that we're going to cut with the bone saw here in a minute. So I'm taking my gut hook and I'm cutting all the way down to the muscle and fat as deep as I can go. Now once I've found the bone, I can go to for my saw, find the cartilage, and work my way in. As you get in, you should be right along that cartilage line. It slides through it like butter, as you can see. This is the diaphragm. You have to trim around it to remove it all the way down. As I'm cutting, you can see you have to be careful not to puncture anything while you're cutting. And the diaphragm is there to separate the stomach and the large intestine, small intestine from the heart, lungs, and other things. Now I'm working my way back up. Now that I've cut the diaphragm, I have to cut to the esophagus. Once I've made it through the esophagus, I can stick my finger in it and just work my way down through. Now you want to use the tip of your blade here and just gently cut anything that's tight. I have to cut the diaphragm back just a little bit farther. As you can see, the method that we are using for field dressing is pretty clean, as I only have blood on my gloves. Now, what I can do is stick my finger in the esophagus and gently tug all of it out, using the tip of my knife to cut anything that's holding it in still. Be careful as you get down here to where the diaphragm is, because on the stomach side of the diaphragm, the tenderloins are there. Those are like your filet mignons. They're the best part of meat on the deer, and you do not want to cut those. A lot of times, the biggest turnoff to people with eating deer meat is people have not gutted their deer right away and they haven't processed their meat properly, which will contribute to a gamey taste in the meat. You always want to gut your deer as soon as possible so that you don't have the gut sitting in there for an extended period of time where they can decompose. The tenderloins are right here. You always want to be careful not to cut these. They're the best part of the meat on the whole deer. Just work your way down. Now, that work we did down here in this area earlier has made it a lot easier, so now all we have to do is make a couple little cuts and we'll be done here in a second. Here in a second, we're going to wash out all of this cavity and get all the blood out of it. The reason is you do not want blood in the cavity because it will help contaminate the meat. You want to keep that meat as clean as possible. This is the heart. This is the muscle that pumps all the blood throughout the deer's body. It's pretty amazing the way they're designed. I'm going to take my gloves off, pick the deer up, and drain out the blood that's in it, and then we will proceed to wash it out with the water I have in my water bottle. Let's work our way down, rinse out everything we can as best as we can. We're going to get this cavity nice and cooled off as soon as possible. If you take care of it the right way, you have excellent tasting meat. This deer is going to taste really good. She's going to taste like lean beef. So a lot of people wonder what to do with the guts when you're done with them. We've gutted this deer in a location where it's safe to gut it and leave the guts out. And coyotes, vultures, and any predators will find it within about 12 to 24 hours, and then will be gone very quickly. So this is full of protein nutrients for any predators in the area, so they'll love it. So we're at a spot now where we have a hose, and we're just going to try to wash everything out of here. You don't want any of this residual blood in there anymore. You want to get all that cleaned off. Get the whole cavity out clean, nice and clean. What this does is this helps prevent any gamey taste from being eaten meat. You can see the water's running a lot more clear now. We've just got almost all the blood out. This is what we want. When you're transporting a deer, you gotta be really careful if you're transporting it from one state to another. A lot of times you have to bone it out and process the deer before you do that. It's always a really good thing to know your regulations before you go, and before you transport it, make sure you check it in. So, hope you guys learned a little bit. Click like and subscribe. Have a great day.